when I came to Madison, I felt replenished by the lakes because in California, water scarcity is a real thing. My fiance at the time said to me, if you come to Madison, you will be able to take a 6-month break. And so during my 6-month sabbatical, I started to obviously paint. And I would get comments from people, that looks like a lake. Oh, that looks like Monona. Is that the isthmus? So through abstraction, I was channeling, obviously the water. I am Issis Macias, an intuitive abstract painter. This is the layered onion. Intuitive abstraction is a style where you approach art without a plan. And it's really a freeing process where it allows me as a painter to just play with color and not worry so much about the end result. And as someone that has not received any formal training in art, abstraction seemed the easy route to go. And so I found just kind of it came naturally to me to just play with colors and put them on canvas. And early on, especially, it was all about experimentation. And so even in my experimentation, it was about, mixing collages or doing mixed media, but always adding some combination of color. When I started painting again in 2012, I experimented with collage, mixed media, collaging, and abstract. And this was a painting that is a self-portrait. So because I can't draw, I did an outline of myself. And this is, I used a paper to cut out this flower, which is more like a sunburst. And I just layered different colors and to create this, self-portrait of myself, looking into the future. This is a process that evolved. I initially started working with just acrylic on canvas and canvas panels. And then I discovered oil pastels. And oil pastels allow me to add additional lines and markings on top of the acrylic painting. So what happened is that it allowed me to kind of elevate the painting to an entirely different style, where I do use them both. And it really depends on what kind of textures I want. So if I want textures, then what I do is I apply the oil pastels at the end, and it's a form of play for me. Imagine a child that just found a marker and they see a clean white wall and they just run to it and do this motion. And so when I apply the oil pastels, it's that feeling of like, okay, I'm just going to do this on you and see what happens. And so that is me reconnecting with my inner child, I think. And so that is what also gives texture and makes the painting a bit more interesting. So this is a 7x5 abstract painting on canvas panel. Again, using acrylic, and you can see some of the oil pastels that I just threw on top. And I started attending art markets in Dane County, and I would sell these. And so this was kind of my introduction to the art world here. And initially, I think I was selling them at $25 a piece, and increased to $50, and now $50 is kind of the set price. I mean, my Mexican heritage is vibrant. If you see certain celebrations like Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead, you see those bright oranges, marigolds. Certain parts of Mexico, Jalisco, which is where my father is from, you see a lot of the reds and contrasting against the blacks, and the embroideries from different regions also are very beautiful. And since I was a child and we were exposed to our Mexican culture, I think it was something that I just really absorbed. And now, as an intuitive painter, I feel like there's this memory bank of colors that I've encountered throughout my life, and it really comes through my art, and it's very cathartic for me to access those colors just because of the complexities, of being a first generation Mexican American woman. I'm also the oldest daughter of five, a family of five, and we're all women. So it's definitely celebrating my Mexican heritage and also processing those challenging experiences. A smaller size, that I tend to make these for art markets. And so I made this one for a winter art market. And this is on a gold metallic canvas. So the background's already gold. And again, celebrating the vibrancy of my culture and life experiences, right? And how we can connect even through abstraction. I like to remind people that the beauty of abstraction is that you're in charge of the message. You're the one that gets to decide, how does abstract art make me feel? What is it telling me? Sometimes people resonate with the titles. Oh, I love that title. And then because it provokes a memory, right? Mm-hmm. And then when you see the colors, then there's another connection there. I mean, when I came to Madison, I felt replenished by the lakes immediately, because in California, water scarcity is a real thing, and it was every year was constantly fluctuating. Do we have enough snowpack and rainfall? Do we have enough drinking water reserves? And there's a science, an exact science to it in terms of supply. And so naturally, when I came to Madison, and my fiance at the time said to me, if you come to Madison, you will be able to take a 6-month break and just take in the city and figure out what you want to do. And so during my 6-month sabbatical, I started to obviously paint. And then maybe a year or two after, I started creating artwork, and I would get comments from people, that looks like a lake. Oh, that looks like Monona. Is that the isthmus? So through abstraction, I was channeling, obviously the water. And there is one painting I made in 2019 that I titled Water Warrior. And this was a homage to the water walkers that are activists, in northern Wisconsin and Michigan, that are fighting to protect water. And this was a beautiful piece that was much more intentional. But even when I created it, I just knew I'm going to use a lot of blues and see what comes out. And it's actually quite magical because you can kind of see a silhouette of a native person. And that was not planned. So that's the magic of abstraction. This piece I created for an exhibition for Dia de los Muertos. And so I titled it Regreso a Casa, which is Journey Home in English. And I wanted to really just celebrate the vibrancy of that, very festive celebration. I know sometimes we shun away from talking about death because for some people it can feel morbid, and it's definitely, coming to terms with our mortality isn't an easy task. But our culture reminds us that death is part of the life cycle, and really our ancestors are always with us. And so this is how I think of my ancestors: very bright and joyful and beautiful. And initially I was thinking of titling it papel picado, which means like cut paper. I don't know if you've seen like the streamers that are like cut paper with like different images, and they're used a lot in Mexican celebrations, and they're extremely colorful. So this is definitely kind of, capturing that essence. Yeah. These boxy rectangular squares or whatever, more of a form shapes, these were born during the pandemic. And initially, when I started making these markings, I think I was feeling we're together but separate. And so it was, again, during the pandemic, feeling isolated, feeling disconnected from community. But yet we are a community, right? We were all in our homes, locked up. Yeah. And so I think subconsciously I was kind of like just getting that out of my system. And so they've evolved now. Obviously, my feelings have changed about that. And so now it's become more identifying with the play aspect of the pastels. I don't want it to sound as a cliche, but pain, right? When you hear about the tortured artist, it's processing pain. And in early 2020, my daughter was born. She was born March 5, 2020. So 5 or 6 days before the world shut down. And her and I had a very difficult birth experience. And so we had a lot of pain, both of us, that we needed to process and heal. Unfortunately, when the world shut down, we didn't have access to those resources. And even, I think it was 2 weeks after, we were home, I received notice that I was being laid off from my position, which was in watershed education. And so I lost my job. I'm a mother, a new mother. I don't know what I'm doing. My family's far away. They are all based in Los Angeles. My husband's family, he's Greek, so his family's in Greece. And so the three of us were just home, isolated, trying to figure out how we were going to survive, right? Because at that point, we didn't really know what was going to happen. And so naturally, I turned to my art and painting, and I would paint when my daughter was sleeping. So I would paint late at night, and it was truly my healing balm. At times, I felt like it was the only thing that could console me, and I was feeling very alone. And when I was creating art, I felt this incredible solace that I think was just essential to my healing, right? I don't overthink it. I've always been someone that if I say I'm going to do something, or if it's something that I want to do, I just do it. And I think because I am trained professionally in the project management world, I do bring those skills into the art world, right? Which is why, I was successful I wrote a grant for funding from Madison Arts Commission, and I was successful in getting that grant funded. And I think it's because I am bringing that skill set, from my previous life. And I know that artists don't want to look at art as a business, but I feel like there is that business side. There is that administrative side that I feel as an artist, we all hate to do. I'm finding that I really don't like doing it because now I'm so much in the right brain of the world. That when I have to go into, I have to do a budget. This morning, I just paid my sales tax to the state of Wisconsin, And so I feel that has a lot to do with my success, because I've managed marketing programs in environment, water conservation. I've created marketing campaigns. And so I feel that I kind of have that experience of, I have to just create an Instagram. I have to post my art. How are people going to know about what I'm doing if I'm not sharing it, if I'm not putting myself out there? Granted, they're not the most comfortable situations, right? Especially as an artist, I've noticed a tendency to be more insular, right? And so I feel that has had a lot to do with it. I think when I started, I was very realistic in pricing my art. Nobody knows me. And so I was making original art and charging $25, right? And I still maintain these small pieces that I only charge $50. And the reason I keep them at that price is because I do believe people should have access to original art, right? And so I think it's just a combination of things. Relationship building is key too, I feel like. I would definitely, I guess a dream of mine is to have a solo show in Los Angeles, where I'm from. So I think kind of reconnecting to the art world in SoCal, I think would be something that I would love. I do some artist collaborations currently with an artist that's based in Los Angeles. So I keep that going. But I would say that would be a highlight. Yeah, obviously, here in Wisconsin, there's great opportunities for artists in, different museums like the Trout Museum, the Miller Museum. I know a couple of people that have, exhibited work there. I think continuing to show my work here in the Madison area. I currently have shows. I'm part of a show at the Overture, the World Trust Gallery. And so I think continuing to apply to opportunities and continue to build relationships with artists and collaborate. I taught an abstract workshop to the children that participate in Little Picassos. That was a great experience. I'd love to continue that. I'm currently a contract art teacher for Arts for All. And that is something that is very special and very fulfilling. So I definitely want to continue to give back to the community, not only focus on, my personal kind of goals and success, but continue to collaborate with other artists to serve the community, exposing children to the art world, to the gallery spaces, to remind them, especially, children from Latino homes, young girls that are Latinas, that they can see me as a role model and say, okay, this is something that I can pursue. Try to hold on to your spark, and whatever fuels that spark, if it's painting, if it's singing, if it's dancing, whatever that spark, whatever brings you joy in the arts, then I would say hold on to it tight, because becoming an adult is challenging, and becoming a successful, healthy adult is even more challenging. So make sure you always hold space for yourself, that you find something that brings you joy. If you'd like to learn more about my artwork, I encourage you to visit my website. It's issismacias.com. You can also follow me on Instagram. My handle is @isis.unstrung. And I tend to use Instagram a lot in terms of providing updates on current shows, upcoming exhibitions, and just a sneak peek of my art process. My name is Issis Macias. This has been The Layered Onion.